Okay, so now that we have the assembly complete, the next step is to do kind of the opposite, and that is to explode or take the pieces apart in a very kind of prescribed way. So I'm going to click New as a starting point and go down to where it says Presentations and click standard.ipn for a presentation file. The only option on my ribbon is to click Create View, so I'm going to start there, and I'm going to look for my assembled cube. Okay, so mine's called Assembly 1. I'll click Open. There's two explosion methods, manual or automatic. We're going to do manual so that we can set the distances for each of the pieces rather than using one setting for all of the pieces. So I'm going to hit OK for that. And it brings in my assembled cube. Now the ribbons change. I have a few more options, and the next thing that we want to do is called tweak the components. So I want to move the components apart from each other, so I'm going to click on tweak components. And there's several clicks that we're going to have to go through for this. First click is to set the direction. Next click is to select which component we're talking about, and then trail origin if we want to do that. We can also change the direction that we're moving and how far we're moving our piece. So again, the first click is just to set the direction. So I'm clicking here. If I want to move my piece in the Z direction, that would be up. In the X direction would be back here, and Y would be to my left. Next click is to select which component I'm talking about. So even though I picked the orange one to set the direction, I haven't actually selected the orange piece yet. When I click again, notice now the orange one has the blue outline on it. Now I've selected that piece. Okay. So let's say I want to move this 4 inches in the Y direction. So this would be the Y direction to my left. I hit the little check mark, and it moves the piece out. If I'm happy with that, I can hit clear and move on to the next piece. So I'll repeat the process then. First click on this green piece is to set the direction. In this case, I'm going to go in the Y direction or to my right. And because the blue arrow is pointing this direction, my measurement is going to be a negative number to have it go in the opposite direction. Select the green component, so now it's highlighted in blue, and set a distance. So I'll do, let's try -1 and check. Okay. Now I did that, and it's not gone past where the yellow piece is. And really, for our exploded view, I want to make sure that all of the pieces can be fully seen and nothing's overlapping it. Instead of redoing or adding another tweak to this piece, I can go back in on my browser and select this specific component, or the green one, and edit how far I tweaked it to begin with. Okay, so I'm going to edit this, and let's say instead of doing 1, we're going to do maybe 2 inches. Okay, so that went back and changed my original number. Keep in mind too that when we're pulling these pieces apart, we don't want pieces to pull through each other. Inventor will let you do that, but if you think about in the real world how I would take this apart, pieces can't pass through each other. So the direction that these move in is fairly important. And then I'm going to do the last piece, this blue one, setting the direction. Now I've selected the component, set a distance, hit my check mark, and if I'm happy, I hit clear. Okay. So these are the 5 pieces that are pulled apart from each other. I want to check to make sure that they don't pass through each other when it assembles, and to do that I can go to Animate. And if I hit play, it's going to play back in the reverse order of how I took them apart. So like the first piece I took off will be the last piece that's added back to the assembly. I can also play it in the reverse direction, like how does this come apart, and I'm watching to make sure that none of the pieces pass through each other. Okay. If they do, I need to change those tweaks so that the components don't do that. There are other settings in here that you can do. I can change kind of the order of how these animate. I can change whether or not multiple pieces move at the same time, and so this is something you may want to look at if you have any interest. Now that I'm done, I can save this. I'll call this Exploded Cube. This is the initial save for that, so I'll hit OK. And I'm done with this process, and in the next video we'll talk about how to do multi-view drawings.